On this week's Gadget Show Web TV, John's keeping his ice cream safe, I bring you this week's best tech news and run down the top 5 Android apps. Hi and welcome to this week's Web TV. Now coming up later, I look at the best apps for Android-based phones. But first, John's been keeping his house safe with the latest home security system from Swan to see if it's really worth splashing your cash on.
Here's an idea if you fancy some additional CCTV home security but don't want to bother with the trouble and expense of a traditional setup. It's called the Swan ADW400 and it's a system of up to 4 security cameras which link wirelessly with this base station that you can hook up to your normal TV. It's very easy to set up. You just plug in the base station and position your camera somewhere you want to watch. Follow me. I'm going to put mine in the garage to check nobody's stealing ice creams from the freezer. Now, obviously, it looks a bit obvious there. You could hide it away more discreetly if you wanted to. And a problem with setting it up is clearly that there's no monitor to check where you're pointing the camera, but I think that should do. Now, the camera pairs instantly with the receiver. It uses its own wireless connection. It's not dependent on your home router, and it seems a pretty robust one actually. This one's going through 3 or 4 walls, and I'm still getting a clear picture. You can view the picture constantly, or you can set it to record constantly onto the SD card, which fits in the slot there. If you wanted to, and if you had a huge 32GB SD card, you could record for up to 3 days at the lower resolution. I think you're more likely to use the remote triggering facilities on the camera. When it senses movement, it goes into record, and you can set the length of time it continues recording for from 3 seconds up to 10 minutes. And the remote triggering seems to work pretty well. You've got to go through the rather clumsy menu system to find the recordings, but here we are. Here's one I did last night. Well, actually, this was the early evening when it was still daylight, and the camera successfully triggered. Here's the guilty character in action. It's got its own illumination, you see, built in as well when it gets dark through infrared. Allows it to see, whoa, up to about 8 meters, they say. I've got it running over a slightly less distance there. And here's another recording I actually made at night. It was a bit slower to get him to record, but still quick enough, I think. The resolution isn't of very high, but I think it's high enough to get recognition, and obviously if it was much higher resolution you'd be rapidly consuming more card space. You also get sound with your recordings, though it's not of very high quality, and you can schedule recordings for particular times if you want to. Now, it's easy to see the disadvantages of this system. The camera's large and not very weatherproof, so that restricts the amount of places you can put it. It's also rather vulnerable to attack. You could easily pull the power lead out the back and you'd get no signal at all. Overall though, I think it's a very easy to set up system that delivers reasonable results for not very much money.
Right, it's time for the news. Now you may remember a few weeks ago we told you about Sony's 3D camera. Well, Panasonic, not being one to be left behind, have just announced the arrival of their first ever 3D lens for the Lumix G Micro system. The lens will bring 3D shooting to the company's G-series high-end camera range. It's part of a big push into the 3D space for Panasonic, which obviously includes their 3D TVs and their Blu-ray players. Now, Panasonic haven't gone into the details with how their 3D lens works, but they have mentioned that it features 2 optical systems that are installed within the diameter of the lens mount, which creates your stereo images from the left and right lens, to be then processed with a 3D image processing system. But to view the 3D pics, you're going to have to own a 3D-ready Viera TV and, of course, don the active specs. Prices have not yet been confirmed, but as soon as we hear anything, we'll let you know. Next up, Apple are at it again. They've just announced the update to the hugely popular iMac line, which now includes i3, i5 and i7 processors up to 3.6 GHz and new graphics, including ATI Radeon HD 5750, with prices starting at an Apple reasonable £999. And they're not stopping with just the new iMac, as they have just released a multi-touch peripheral called the Magic Trackpad, which works with a whole range of gestures in the same way as the MacBook Pro. It will give desktop users the chance to use its now familiar multi-touch technology, which they use on most of their other devices. The trackpad connects to the Mac via Bluetooth wireless technology, and the range of gestures supported include pinch, zoom, rotate, and the aforementioned inertial zoom. So it looks like Apple have it in their sights to eradicate the traditional mouse on their list. Right, we all know Apple's App Store is home to literally hundreds of thousands of apps. But if you own an Android-based phone, there is still a wealth of apps available that will give Apple a run for their money. So I've had a rummage through their store to bring you some of my favourites. First in at number 5, I've got Retro Camera. A smartphone with a camera is great, but for a real photo enthusiast, they know photography isn't just about the technical spec. A truly good camera gives you photos with character. With Retro Camera app, it gives your Android phone the ability to do this. It offers you 4 built-in presets based on different old cameras, making your shots look scratched, old, and generally retro. The app's presets are based on Lomo, Holga, Polaroid, Diana, toy cameras and Hipstamatic, all for that authentic look. Retro Camera is a very slick camera app. The interface is really swish, and being able to see the photos once they're processed is great. At 4, it's the Great Land Grab. The Great Land Grab is a game where you can claim the land via GPS that you're located in. That means if you travel, the more land you can claim, or if someone already owns it, you can buy it off them. It's as simple as that. And to top the leaderboard, you need to have the most money, most land parcels, most expensive land, and total land value. It even allows exclusive offers from businesses near you, and they can advertise inside the game and can offer special deals and discounts to players. It's a location-based game that's absolutely great fun, and it has a huge active community that will keep you playing for months. At 3, it's Winds of Steel. In Winds of Steel, you take to the virtual skies for aerial duels and bombing runs, all set in World War II. It gives you the chance to experience World War II's most epic and legendary air battles in Asia and Pacific theatres on your Android mobile phone. From the attack on Pearl Harbor and all the way to the bombing of Tokyo, take command of 12 famous Pacific fighters and bombers in a challenging 3D game. The graphics are glorious and the motion is superbly responsive. But I must admit, you might get a few funny looks if you're on a train and you're moving it this way and that, but who cares? Come on. He's going down. At 2, it's NewsRob Pro. Keeping up with all of your favourite websites can be a little bit of a nightmare, especially when you have to load the web browser and flick through all of your sites. However, now NewsRob Pro for Google Reader client on Android has made it a whole lot easier. The app downloads all of your feeds from your Google Reader account to your phone. You can add an offline mode too, so that you can read news stories without having an internet connection. Once you're done, the changes are synced back to your Reader account, so you can carry on with your reading on your desktop computer or laptop. So if you read a lot of websites, this is the perfect app to keep on top of everything. And at number 1, it's Google Maps Navigation. It's basically a full sat-nav for free on your phone. In terms of apps, doesn't really get much better than this. Google Maps Navigation is extremely responsive and so easy to use. You can even simply use yours by saying navigate to whatever destination, Bullring. And straight away you get a list of all of what you want in the immediate vicinity. You can then either use Google Maps Navigation, as you would Google Maps, a reference tool for when you're on foot, and this is where it really comes into its own. Select Get Driving Directions and really see what it can do. Because Google Maps Navigation is a free sat-nav on your phone, it proves invaluable the fact that you can just tell it where you want to go and it will direct you via its inbuilt voice to that exact spot. So if you've got Android 1.6 or above, you just have to get this. It's genius. Well, that's all we've got time for this week. I'll be back next week with more tech news and reviews. But the main show will be here on Monday, 8 p.m. on 5. John's going to be testing the latest iPhone 4 with Comedy Dave. And Susie and Jason take on the challenge to mount their own campaign to promote the new show using the latest technology. It's definitely one not to miss. But that's all from me. Bye for now.